Good morning and good afternoon, Value First Nation LinkedIn friends. Welcome to another episode of Value First Measurement with Danielle Urban. Happy Monday, Danielle.
Hey, happy Monday.
Good weekend, I hope.
Low key, which was very nice. It's really cold now, so I just don't want to leave my house, and I didn't have to.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Um, just 80 degrees down here right now. So uh, I wish you the best. I
Thank
wish you the best.
you. Did.
Oh man, so much has happened since last week in terms of more conversations about what we started talking about. Um, the conversation you and I had, and then Riley and Casey right after, and it led to some more conversations throughout the week, really starting to flesh out um, these concepts that we're talking about. So we are going to dive into a little bit of a value path conversation this week, but from the perspective of the humans, of course, but also like just because you can track everything, the old adage doesn't mean you should. We're going to describe, like, at least from my perspective, every human, and I think there's value in standardizing around stuff like this, is every human uh, goes through this journey, whether we're involved or not, right? And real quick, it's an audience stage uh, in which they're learning, researcher in which they're surprise researching, uh, hand raiser, which they're asking for help, directly and intentionally. Buyer, they're in buying mode. They're ready to find the right solution and purchase, or continue on the path with you. Uh, and then we've got value creator. So after activation, whoever gets involved needs to start creating value. We want them to adopt uh, as an adopter stage, which means they realize the value. Nobody's adopting anything unless they realize some value, even if the value is just because I need to follow the rules that the boss has given me. Advocate, so they tell others about you, and a little bit of nuance here, like we try to enable internal sharing before like expecting all this external, because that often you'll have one advocate and then a bunch of people in the value creator stage, and how can we help everybody become an adopter. And then champions, look no farther than most of the value first contributors in the way that we talk about HubSpot and try to come up with new methodologies to help people with HubSpot and growth and all that stuff. So really, taking that trust and loyalty to another level. And uh, interesting point came up, and I always appreciate Joshua Oakes for his experience and his knowledge around this topic. He used champion as a good example. Like if you're an insurance company, right, selling life insurance or whatever, you might not, like, champions might not be a part of your strategy, right? And that's okay. Having said that, we do have people walking around with like progressive t-shirts on and like talking about
It's true.
progressive stuff, right? Like it's their favorite, thing because they were taken care of in an automobile accident, whatever it was, right?
Hmm.
So the key is that these stages exist in every human. They might not be a champion of your business, but there's likely something else that they are a champion. They've gone this far in their life, right? And what we want to lay down is that if you understand that these are all possible, instead of what we normally do in focusing on like these four
Hmm.
and maybe customer closed one, right? We start to understand the granularity so that when we're in a conversation, we can say, hey, like we know it's, nobody else in your space is doing it. But what if we focused on like champions and tried to just think outside of the box, right? So strategically understanding that these exist, you can start to strategically understand, the value path that each human you're trying to, serve, the value path that they're on.
Yeah.
The reason that I think this is important is because, as an example, HubSpot is giving us all of these tools, just so many tools right now, that I started playing with this because I have credits. I'm like, all right, credits don't roll over. I want to use them. Buyer intent is something that I would love to understand more about. And so naturally, I hit my limit like right away, which is easy to do. Luckily, it rolls over tomorrow, so that's cool. But I found this today because right away I'm like, as I'm sure in this Akezi, I'm like, what does it even mean that they're on this list? Like, right? Like, okay, there's 0 signals, so nothing here yet. But luckily, we have one to latch onto. And as we open it up, so hopefully, we can touch all of the angles. I want you to notice that there's signals in the URL up here, which usually means something related to the data model and objects. So this is when we talk about HubSpot moving in this direction, right? You don't see words just don't end up in the URL by accident, right? Mm-hmm. As I scroll down here and let's dive deeper into this object, right? So key signals that lead to us the map. That's why we want to map so badly for you, because you have the ability to track things. And like we talked about last week, this one signal is the VP and CTO just wrote an article, right? What we want to achieve for you is, let's say you get excited and use all your credits. Do you know what your team is going to do with this signal? Does it matter to your business? If we can answer that question, then it makes sense to gather signals. But if it's just like, hey, here's all this data sales team, do whatever you want with it, which is going to be some half-assed pitch, oh, I saw you wrote an article last week. That's cool. Let me tell you about our products. No, that's not. We need to go a little bit deeper. I would love to hear your thoughts on this when I shared this with you earlier today.
I was so excited, but I had the same thought. I was like, if you feed this to someone and don't give the context, they're immediately going to send an email that's like, hey, saw your recent article. And it's not going to be any better than some AI SDR crap that gets sent out and fills inboxes these days. So you need to take that signal. And we've talked so much about shifting culture. And that's where this process needs to be a culture-wide adopted practice, where it's not just saw you wrote an article. It's actually reading it, actually making sense of it, reaching out and starting a conversation to have a relationship with the humans, because that's now there, so that you can start to build off of that and be mutually beneficial, where there is value realized and not just shoving a sales pitch down someone's throat. But I think this is so interesting and insightful. I didn't catch the URL. That's a big deal. But my initial reaction was I've been waiting for this. Years ago, a colleague reached out to me who I hadn't talked to in probably a decade. And he was like, hey, you posted about de-anonymizing web traffic in HubSpot. This was before Clearbit acquisition. And I was like, oh yeah, it's at this URL. It's not great. It's not connected to anything. You can just see a list of companies and it will tell you whether or not they're already in your HubSpot. And so the first person I reached out to was that person I had the conversation with, was like, look what you can do now. Because the fact that I could click through to this company record and see this activity on their timeline tells me that we're finally connecting the dots between the activity that HubSpot was tracking for us. And it's been there in some capacity. now much better capacity, and it's actually tracking through in a way that's actionable. Like you can use this to generate lists, to score people, to do all of these things with, to actually move your business better and have like a complete picture of a contact, a human, a company. And it's really exciting. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, it is. And this is why it's like, if we can't get you to want these things, what you end up doing is just click over like, oh, okay, buyer intent. Okay, let's make a list. All right, sales team, here's a list.
Yeah.
Right. And in reality, like when we get the strategy right and the mapping, like it's so helpful when it comes to this kind of strategy. Like look at these, and there's nothing in here right now.
Yeah.
Top page views, recent page views, research signals about contacts. That sounds so much like a funnel. like HubSpot's got it ready made like for you, and you just have to click some buttons to turn it on. Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Like, so if you haven't been spending your at least 3,000 credits, which you have, like just sprint over to here. It's 10 credits per company, right? Just do it for the right reasons, not to just build some data that your team can, act on without strategy, right? I guarantee this is going to be like just an hour, like turn these on, let it run. And then just an hour at the end of the month of just a couple of people from the GTM teams, like just looking at it, like, do we care about this? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If not, why not? If yes, then why? Right.
Next.
And
right.
what actions are we taking?
Yeah.
Right. And this is what I'm talking about when I say like use the data that you already have instead of trying to go, pay a bunch of other systems and like data vendors.
Right.
All this stuff. I mean, this has been under the radar a lot with HubSpot. But when I landed on this morning, because I just activated this last week, it's like I was so happy I had the one signal, but it really can tell the whole story, right?
Yeah.
Because if we click into here, there's another page, by the way, that I'm not going to share because I don't know if I'm supposed to. But basically, when we talk about signal recognition, which I think is a phrase that everybody like needs to get used to, because AI can do that for you if you tell it how to do it. Right. Coming into the record and then aligning, right? We've got all these like data agent insights with smart properties where it's just a click away, right? Buyer intent, the whole story that we've been trying to like talk about and trying to like work so hard to create slide decks and grab all these things and try to make something that is usually missing a huge chunk.
Mm-hmm.
It's here. Got org chart hub involved now. It's not like that, but it's so much is available. You just got to ask these systems to do it like first, right?
Yeah. Well, and I love this because it's now sort of extrapolating and adding a layer of information that is more easily acted upon, because we've done a lot of work in resetting the view, like what do you put in the view where so that it's very actionable. But if now you can just basically write yourself a prompt or rework this page to give you the exact context, you can ask things like, what are the recent signals and how does that line up to their current, buying status with us? And now it's like you got an answer almost readily written for you for like how to reach out to this contact.
Yeah. And this is the kind of thing like we also saw on the morning show today. We like there's a social update that's in private beta that will allow you to see your personal posts that are made outside of HubSpot.
Cool.
And this is the kind of thing, like, first of all, if you're in sales and you want to do something with this signal, like, just don't pitch off the back of it. Like, say, I like this topic, or I want to learn about this topic, or whatever. Go find it, a topic, like maybe they posted about it on LinkedIn, and then you go like it and comment, right? Super,
Yeah.
so good at the surround bound approach.
Yeah.
Like, that's how any company literally can use this signal, whether they care about, sustainability and technological innovation at all. If this person is also in your, you know, ICP or ACP. If you want to know what ACP stands for, check out Nico tomorrow on the Admin's Hug. Putting the pieces together, right? When you look at this stuff in a vacuum, like, of course, teams aren't going to be able to like use it very well.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, so what's the next step? Let's say, okay, a team says, we want we think this signal is important to us.
Mm-hmm.
What should we do next to make sure we leverage it?
I mean, read it. Like, actually consume all of the details, understand it, understand the people referenced, understand the people who wrote it. Like, there's work that needs to go in, whether that's an agent doing the work or you as a human salesperson doing the work, where you jump in and like actually make sense of the content, because that is the basis for a conversation. It's not the fact that they wrote it. It's the fact that you now have a window into something that's important to them or important to their business because they're writing about it. Now, once you have all of that context, you can actually start a conversation leveraging that context to be relevant and relationship driven, not sales driven. And so you just have to forget about sales to do sales.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy if you just switch into like, you're not selling, you're just helping, like you're just
Right.
helping people helping people through their value path.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's like, why did they write that article? Why is that important to them? Like, literally coming from a place of human interest and
Right.
like caring. Again, it's not all like, oh, we just want to build relationships with everybody. Obviously, there is profile sitting nearby that says usually people in this job title, in this role, in this industry, like, they buy our stuff, right? So let's build relationships. Worst case scenario, when you approach it like that, is like referrals, right? Like, because you can, oh man, just building trust and value by connecting on a human level, first. It takes a different approach, obviously. And if you're in the mode of, okay, we got to act on every signal, and how am I going to, hack the process by saying I saw this article and read it, like, that's not the approach.
Right.
And this is just one signal that we're waxing on here. Like,
Really,
if it's right next to like recent page views and top page views, and about, like,
right.
it gets easier and easier to leverage these. That's where I think that what we want to do is understand the context of the signal, like within your process and within your business. And I started sharing this last week. It's come so far since last week. Thank you, AI. So, like, the things we hit on last week is, okay, this is the journey that we're talking about, and this person, went through all the stages. They're the perfect example, right? And we talked about things like co-creation of white papers, getting published, keynoting things. So similar signals. So I didn't, and there's no way I could have faked this signal. So just so you like that, and this is HubSpot, like HubSpot saying this is a signal. Like, I didn't do anything to say,
you just turned it on.
Right? I just turned it on. So again, the signals are not just hand raises, right? There's lots of reasons that we want to classify things as signals. So as we work through that, what I've added to this space, and I'm working on how visually nice this stuff is to look at. So don't hate too much. But the intent here, and just so you know, I do have like I am looking out to try and make the stuff more consumable and more friendly. But this is where I started, okay?
Oh man.
Right. So 5 years ago, like one Sunday, like 6 hour binge session, just pulling everything out of my head that related to like everything externally that had to happen, everything internally that had to happen to push people from unaware to advocacy.
Mhm.
And what I quickly found out was, oh, this half of the diagram is usually just not documented anywhere for
Mhm.
any reason. Yet we all know that this is where a lot of the money is made. And oh, by the way, we've got to do this. We've got to iterate on this for all these different key markets that we say we want to target because those key markets speak differently. They care about different things, right? So imagine the signals that we're talking about. I'll see if I can get here or not. But imagine this is like a heat map, right? So that if there's a lot of signals here and none over here, we're just like fully top of funnel. Like we're not like serving them throughout the process. And basically that's what happens when it's like we get their email and then just sales, 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 because there is no like signals happening when sales is just trying to start that conversation in that way.
Mhm.
So, been thinking about making this diagram better for a while and in context. So, imagine here where, like, because this is where it's super insightful for me, because we're going to tell you create the space for all of these signals to happen and for them to matter for you.
Right.
But, like, a lot of internal effort is required from strategy to execution of RevOps, marketing ops, to make that possible, right?
Mhm.
And it's very easy to say the farther away we get from the actual sales call, like the lower the priority is, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so trying to create a space where it's like, okay, what happened and why is it important to us, right? Can we
Mhm.
just start there and have those conversations?
Mhm.
And that's where if you have those conversations internally, so let's say you do turn this on and then have that open forum conversation at the end of
Mhm.
the month, that's 1 hour. Give that 1 hour transcript to AI and it will turn out gold for you,
Yeah.
right? It will also make it very clear like where the biases are and and will help if you ask it to help you where the gaps are,
Right.
right? So that's where I would go in terms of, okay, we've got some signals. Like, how are we thinking about it in terms of the context of the business? Like, you get 30 days. As soon as you turn a company on now, uh, you get the past 30 days.
Cool.
So, like, can we find any of these, like, in our closed ones or our closed losts,
Yeah.
right? So, uh, yeah, I never thought I would be talking. Like, if you asked me at the beginning of this year if I'd be talking about buyer intent, I would have said you're lying. Like, there's no way in hell. Um, I'm kind of glad I've gotten here, though. Like, right?
Yeah.
This is super valuable stuff.
Right.
But how different is this than just buying a bunch of buyer intent data and
Yeah.
then like not treating it, in this way? Um,
Right.
so,
Giving it the context alongside your CRM is so important because you've said it, the signal itself layered with your ICP or ACP, layered with their interactions with your brand. Now you actually have a picture of who you're talking to and why. And you can just build off of that to have a genuine relationship.
Yeah. And when we have the next call coming up and you have the button that says like prepare for call, it gives you all these notes. If you're doing the work of helping Breeze understand, what to do with these kinds of signals, man, those kinds of button clicks just increase in value like immensely, right?
Yeah.
So I was excited to see this, and I think it sets a good stage for what we want to build, because it's so easy to just focus on like the hand raiser, like this. It's what we were trained to do, right?
Yeah, I'm
Like,
thinking back to all of the contact filtered views that had like MQLs, and then it was sorted by most recent web page visit or most recent form fill dates, so that you can follow up with the people who did the thing with your brand most recently. And this just really brings us so far beyond that. I'm so proud.
yeah, I know, and we want to help you be proud too, and avoid the other angle that we're starting to see. And I actually experienced. I don't know if I shared this last week, but what we're used to, and it's kind of the joke of the industry, but still happens like every day, is the random call. Like we already said it in this signal, but I know most of us have experienced. Hey, you downloaded that thing. We hope it was value for you. Like, can we book a call? Like, oh, you mean that thing from 18 months ago?
Yeah.
And I just experienced my first AI SDR version of that call.
Congratulations.
Right?
It was probably terrible, wasn't it?
It was not good. Enough to where, I mean, it was different in that it was too clean. So I knew it had to be AI. Like there wasn't a bunch of junk happening in the background,
Yeah.
which often happens. But it was like you could tell it was trying to get to the bottom of the value I received. And as soon as it got to, oh, I was just learning, it's like, thanks, have a good day. It's like, okay.
Wow, so much for that relationship.
Right. And you know what? Like, it was from an organization that I respected a lot. Like,
So sad.
prior to that, a book that I really appreciate and think is on the right track. And I know if I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, like, it's an experiment that a lot of people are trying right now, AI SDRs.
Yeah.
But it was just like picture perfect example of why this is the wrong place to be enabling, AI to work on your behalf. Like that was my first interaction with anybody in that organization. And I say anybody on purpose. That AI SDR was representing that organization as they called and asked me that question, right? So it says whatever I interpret it to say. In this case, I'm not thrilled about it, but it is the opposite way to use these signals than what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, as we look into next week, and stuff like this is available around the company record in ways that you've always wanted, what do you envision us doing as we dig into HubSpot?
I think if you're implementing the value first path, one of the first things you should do is rework your lifecycle stages, like just relabel all of them and get that lined up. But then I think mapping all of the other data that HubSpot can collect to those stages. And I'm going to have to think about it this week, how I want to do that, because you could create views that say like the, researcher stage indications. And that's a card that has like last page view, how many times they visited your website, like those kinds of things, and present it in a way that informs that value first journey using the data that HubSpot already collects. I think it's all there. We just have to restructure it. Yeah, I've got some work ahead of me.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone in that endeavor. A lot of people working on this right now. But what you just brought to mind is like when I first, especially as I was going to be like a, solutions partner a couple of years ago, it's like, all right, I'm gonna track all the things. Right, I'm
Mhm,
gonna a whole LinkedIn list in here, and
mhm.
that's gonna mean anything. I need to add all these fields so that I know who's friends and who's just acquaintances and who's family, and I made a card that was like engagement, focused or engagement strategy.
Mhm.
It's largely what we're talking about in term, and
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing, like inbound versus outbound, like where
Mhm.
on social, where in Slack, like we're not going to ask you to run into the CRM like every time you have an exchange to track it.
Right.
But when it says when you're on a call with somebody and they say, "Hey, I saw you in like you were mentioned in the Slack channel of this specific Slack community," Breeze will put it in that place like for
Right.
you if you've got the place,
We have the recorder.
right? So some steps to get there, sure, but it's definitely not as hard as you think.
No, it's all there. We're just
And
kind of doing it.
I think we should recruit some value first friends to join us on this journey because they're also building stuff. Because it's important. Like we really feel strongly about there being a better way, right? Uh, I feel strongly about this being a good candidate for a better way. Still got to make it through this like practical application phase,
Mhm.
but that's where when I see just signals pop up like this, I'm like, all right, there's another indicator we're on
Yeah.
the right track. Um, that during that update today, I think like for buyer intent past 30 days, HubSpot referred to it as signal based scoring, right? So if you want to do loop marketing and if you want lead scores to actually matter for once,
Mhm.
this is where we're going, folks. So thank you for listening to my excitement today, Danielle. I look forward to next week when we're doing some work inside of HubSpot. Um, so thank you for your time today, and everybody have a great week. Thanks so much, Danielle.
All right.